Hi, it's Miss Sabi here again, also known as your math therapist, according to one of my students. That's the new name that was given to me as of April 5th, 2025, Sabi, the math therapist. Long story short, go look at my other video to see how I got that name. Okay, so I'm coming on here to do this video because I was having a conversation with a parent, and I was just talking about how when we were younger, we learned to isolate variables by moving things around, and that in the last decade or so, there's like a new approach that kids are learning, which is fine, but sometimes some kids don't grasp that easy, and the good old school moving things over works better for them. So I'm going to go through. So the first one is okay. So when we solve the equations, what we are trying to do is we are trying to isolate the variable, right? So we're trying to get this alone because we want to know what that is equal to, right? So we want to isolate that. So essentially, we want to move things away from it. We want to have it all by itself. So students learn that, okay, in this case here, we have a positive 10 next to the V. So we want to get rid of the positive 10. How do we get rid of the positive 10? Well, if we add its opposite, right? Okay, that will allow us to get rid of the positive 10. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So if we always have to balance, right? So if we add something here, we've got to add it on the other side as well. So I added negative 10 on that side. I've got to add it on the other side as well. So we end up with this. Okay, now we can simplify. I have negative 10 minus 7, negative 17 is equal to, so negative 10 plus 10 becomes 0 plus v. So essentially, I'm just going to flip that around. We have v is equal to negative 17, right? So that's that's the way that students are learning it now. But if we, from the old school, right? So people who were born in the 1980s and before, what we learned is, okay, if I want to isolate the V, I got to move everything away. So I'm going to take that positive 10, move it over. And anytime you move anything over to the other side, it changes sign. It becomes its opposite sign. So if it was positive 10, when I bring it over, it becomes negative 10, right? So then I have negative 10 minus 7 equals V. Negative 17 equals V. So I have the same thing, which is great. But I find that that technique gets a little bit um, confusing when you have more than you have when you have to do a lot more isolating and a lot of more moving around. So like for something for like number two, I think that the technique that we learned with moving around is a little bit more easy to grasp, because I find when I get students coming in and they're having trouble with this, they have trouble with this balancing thing. Like, okay, negative 10 here, 10 here, and they get confused about how to do it. So I'm going to teach you all, you new school people, the old school way, step by step. So first thing we're going to do is simplify each side as much as possible. So simplify each side. So what I mean by this is we're going to combine like terms. Okay, so combine like terms before we move anything around. So on the left side over here, there's nothing that I can combine. But on this side, I see I have some constants. And I also noticed that these are like terms. So I can combine and consolidate those. So I have 5 minus 8v on this side, not doing anything over there yet. Then I have 8 plus 5, which is 13. And then negative 8v plus 4v is minus 4v. Okay, so 1, simplify each side, combine like terms. And then 2, I am going to put constants. So these are numbers that stand alone. So put constants on one side and variables on the other side. Variables on the other side of the equal sign, that is. So variables on the other side. So it doesn't matter which side you choose, just as long as you have all the constants on one side, all the variables on the other. So what I'm going to choose to do is I'll put it on the top just so that we, just for practice purposes, I will say I will put constants on this side of the equal side, the equal sign, I should say, and variables over here. Okay, so variables on the right, constants on the left. So what do I have to move? All right, I've got to move this positive 13. All right, and I got to bring it over to that side. Okay, and when I bring that over, so I'm just going to do it step by step. Normally, I will do them all at once, all the moving around, but I don't want anyone to get confused, so I'll do that. So I have 5, and then when I bring over the positive 13, when you go to the other side, you change your sign. So then I have negative 13, okay, and then I still have this negative 8v on that side, and on this side, I have negative 4v. Now, again, I need to move the other variable because variables are on the right. This negative 8v is on the left. I need to move it over. So when I move it over, I have 5 minus 13 is equal to, so remembering when I bring over that negative 8v, it becomes positive 8v. So I have 8v minus 4v. So 5 minus 13 is negative 8. And on this side, when I have 8v minus 4v, I have 4v left. So I'm just going to put my next step over here. So I'm just going to rewrite that. Actually, I'm going to flip it so that I like to have my variable like that. So I should have probably put all my variables on left. So this means the same thing, right? So negative 8 is equal to 4v is the same thing as saying 4v is equal to negative 8. Okay, so put the constants on one side and variables on the other. That I've done. Okay, and then simplify again. So simplify or combine like terms. So combine like terms again after you've done the rearranging. So combine like terms. And then I am going to isolate the v. So isolate your variable. Isolate. So when we say isolate the variable, what we mean is we want it by itself. Essentially what we want in front of it, we want the coefficient. So the coefficient must be 1, meaning the number in front of the variable, right, must be 1. So the number in front of the letter. So I currently have a 4 in front of this v, but what I want is a 1. So what do? We divide by the coefficient. So we divide by the number in front because anything divided by itself gives us 1. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So what we're left with is 1v is equal to negative 8 over 4. And we know that we can reduce this if we divide the top and the bottom by 4, or just regular division. So negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. So v is equal to negative 2. So that's my answer for that one. Okay, so let me just move this out of your way and let me write this a little bit more clear. So for this one, v is equal to -2. Now, how do we check to see if this is right? So I always like my students to learn how to check their answers, because if you have time, you should always check your answers. So let's check our answer. Okay, so what does check your answer mean? Okay, so the original expression I had was 5 minus 8v is equal to 5 plus 8 minus 8v plus 4v, right? But now I know what v equals because I figured that out, right? So v equals -2. So what I'm going to do is wherever I see v, I'm going to change it for -2. Okay, because now I know what v is, right? So -8 times -2 plus 4 by -2. So now you see that all the v's, right, have been replaced by -2. So if my answer is right, if I did the work correctly, what I'm going to find is that when I simplify the left and simplify the right, they will have the same number. So let's go ahead and simplify. So we have to do order of operations. So don't forget BAMDAS. Okay, so order of operations, brackets, I don't really have brackets. Exponents I don't have, multiplication I do have. So over here, I'm going to have 5, and then we have -8 times -2, which is +16, right? So a negative times a negative is positive. 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to leave the 5 and the 8 because I am not there yet. That's addition. So I've got to do order of operations. So again, -8 times -2 is +16. And then over here, the +4 times -2 is -8. So now I'm going to simplify. 5 plus 16 is 21. Over here, I have, let's just put the mental math aside. I'm going to put it in my calculator. So 5 plus 8 plus 16 minus 8 is 21. So because my left and right equal to each other, then I know that what I found out over here was right. So that's how you check back your answer. So let me make sure that I have all the steps over there. So step 1, simplify each side. If you can, combine like terms. 2, put constants on one side and variables on the other side, right? By moving things over. And the important thing to remember. So here, I'm going to put a little star. That's supposed to be a star. It's not a star. That's not an asterisk. Let me fix that. Okay, like this. Okay. When you move something over the equal sign, so when you move something over the equal sign, okay, so I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way. And let me move this. I'll fix this. So when you move something over the equal sign, it changes signs, right? So something that is negative will become positive, okay? Once you move it over the equal sign. Okay, so that was messy, but you get the drift. So let's do number 3. So what I'm going to do is combine like terms where I can. So these are like terms on that side. And then there's nothing else that's like terms on the other side. So I have 6 And then when I have negative 8a plus 2a, so that's like saying 2 minus 8, that is negative 6a, right? And then on the other side, I have 8a minus 8. Okay, then I'm going to move things around. This time, I'm going to say that I want variables on this side and constants, which are numbers that stand alone, right? No letters, so I want constants here, variables here. Okay, so because of that, I'm going to have to move over this positive 8a. So it's going to go over to that side. And when I bring it over, what happens to the sign? It changes signs. So I have 6 minus 6a. When I bring over the 8a, it becomes negative 8a. And on the left, I still have, sorry, on the right, I still have that negative 8. Okay, I am still in the process of moving, so I'm going to move that 6 because I want constants on the right. Sorry, so I have negative 6a minus 8a is equal to, so when I bring over the positive 6, it becomes negative 6. So then I have negative 6 minus 8. Okay, now I'm going to simplify again. So everything is like on either side of the equal sign. So I have the a's on one side and the constants on the other. So negative 6 minus 8 is negative 14a. And then negative 6 minus 8 is just negative 14. Now I have to isolate that a, so I have to divide it by the coefficient. So divide it by the number that's in front of it. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So what I end up with is 1a is equal to 1. In other words, a is equal to 1. Now I'm going to check, right? I'm going to check to see if my answer is right. So what does that mean? Just gonna copy this expression over here. Okay, so check. So a is equal to 1. So wherever I see a, I'm going to replace it with 1. So 6 minus 8, and instead of a, I'm going to put 1. Plus 2, instead of a, I'm going to put 1. Over here, 8, instead of a, I'm going to put 1, minus 8. Order of operations, so I have 6, negative 8 times 1 is negative 8, plus 2, 8 minus 8. So over here, I have 6 minus 8, right? So 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So I'm always doing bit by bit, plus 2. And then 8 minus 8 is 0. Then we have negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So we have 0 equals 0. So that means what I found for my A was right because my left equals my right. If for some reason I had, like, let's say 6 is equal to 4, that doesn't make sense. 6 does not equal 4. So that means that I would have made some kind of mistake somewhere and my value that I determined for A was incorrect. Okay, so again, this is just the technique that I find most useful for students. The other technique, I'm not knocking it. I mean, if you learn it that way, that's great. But I just find in my years of teaching that teaching students to move things over is less confusing for them, especially since I make them circle the term and its sign and show the arrows that it's moving over so they can keep track of what they've done and what they have to do. I find the other way, sometimes they lose track of, like, did I add that there? Did I add that? Or where was I putting this? So stuff like that. So I just find it easy to follow, especially when you have a lot of moving around to do, a lot of isolating to do. So again, this was solving equations. In other words, isolating the variables or solving for the variables. In other words, we want the variable to be isolated, we want it to be by itself, and we don't want a number in front of it other than 1. So that's that. I hope this was helpful. You have a fantastic evening or whatever it is when you're watching this movie, not this movie, this video. And please go to my link tree. The link is in the YouTube notes. And from there, you can see my other videos. If you want to book a tutorial session with me, you can book through there. All things Miss Sabi are on my link tree. So take care until next time.